Well, hello and welcome to Business Incorporated, the trading week kicking off right here in Lagos, Nigeria. Here's what's coming up. Zimbabwe introduces ban on grain and oilseed imports starting April 1st. Processors of grains, oilseeds, and related products in Zimbabwe will be required to source at least 40% of their needs locally. And we see Egypt signs a $18.5 billion tourism investment deal with Saudi Arabia and UAE. Plus, gold prices start the week near record highs. And it's great to have you join us. Let's get a check on what's playing out with oil now. We know it started off positive this morning and see it added about $1 today, regaining some of last week's losses after OPEC's admission there to an output hike, and that was seen as a modest and due to concerns over the possibility of more sanctions on Russian crude. We see it's still moving up there, 2% this time at $66.82 a barrel. That's for Brent crude. And we see WTI trying to make a comeback for that $64 level, $64 per barrel, but it's trading at $63 now, up a bigger 2.04%. So, definitely investors watching out what's going to play out with output hikes there. A further increase in production from October, but we see the amount was less than some analysts had anticipated. Reuters reported earlier this month that members were considering another hike. As members of OPEC, both benchmarks fell more than 2%. That was last Friday on that weak U.S. jobs report. But we're seeing a big comeback right there from morning up to this afternoon. All right, let's get a check on metals now. We see gold prices still trading at a record highs there, $3,612. That's for spot gold, up a big 0.7%. But on the flip side, we're seeing the U.S. Gold futures there. That's pulled back 0.4%. Spot silver trying to get more position above $40 there, trying to stay comfortable, but by about 83 cents. We see platinum 1.46% up. 1.07 up for palladium at $1,141. So we're seeing the metals there still looking strong. The U.S. Jobs growth there did spook investors, and we see them running into safe haven metals there for safety at this point, and we're seeing that drive up most of these metals to record highs. Well, let's get a check on what's playing out with agriculture in Nigeria now. In a bold push to tackle food insecurity and reduce massive losses in the agricultural value chain, the federal government has launched the Nigeria Post-Harvest Systems Transformation Program, NIFAS. The initiative, unveiled by the Minister of Agriculture and Food Security, Senator Abubakar Kyari, the Nigeria Legacy Program during the Africa Food Systems Forum in Dakar, is designed to cut Nigeria's estimated 3.5 trillion annual post-harvest loss, while boosting farmer incomes and stabilizing food prices and driving. Senator Kyari explained that the NIFAS will prioritize modern storage solutions from household technologies and community warehouses, to cold rooms and national silos through strong public-private partnerships. The program is expected to unlock private sector investment, enhance exports, create jobs, and position Nigeria as a regional food hub. All right, let's get a check on other matters now. See Egypt, that's in North Africa. Egypt's net international reserves climbed at about $49.25 billion in August 2025, compared to $49.03 billion at the end of July, marking an increase of about $215 million, according to data released by the Central Bank of Egypt. And this comes after the country's foreign currency reserves reached a record high in April 2025, surpassing the $48 billion threshold for the first time ever. Meanwhile, Egypt has signed a major $18.5 billion investment agreement with Saudi and the Emirati partners to develop a vast integrated tourism project along the Red Sea coast, marking one of the largest joint ventures of its kind. The deal was unveiled at the cabinet headquarters in the new administrative capital in a ceremony attended by Prime Minister Mustafa Madbouly and senior ministers, Jamal bin Tanian and others. He announced that more than 900 billion Egyptian pounds will be invested in the Marasi Red Sea project in partnership with Saudi Arabia's City Stars Group. And away from Egypt now, starting April 1st, 2026, processors of grain, oilseeds, and related products in Zimbabwe will be required to source at least 40% of their needs locally, with a complete ban on imports taking effect from April 1st, 2028. These changes are outlined in Statutory Instruments 87 of 2025, published by the Minister of Lands, Agriculture, Fisheries, Water, and Rural Development, Dr. Access Basuka, under the Agricultural Marketing Authority Act. According to the new regulations, regulations says that imports of grain, oilseed, and their products are permitted only under contracts in cases of urgent need. If the landed import parity price is lower than the local production parity price, then the difference will be directed to the Agricultural Revolving Fund. And to pay TV now, we see the MultiChoice Group, the parent company of satellite television, that's DSTV. They firmly rejected calls from the Ghana's Minister for Communications, Technology and Innovation, Samuel Nati George, for a 30% reduction in subscription fees. This comes as Mr. George characterized DSTV's pricing in Ghana as unfair, highlighting the stark contrast between the premium bouquet price of about $83 in Ghana compared to $29 for the same package in Nigeria. For MultiChoice, South Africa's the corporate affairs executive referred to a statement that further clarified the group's position, where MultiChoice Ghana acknowledged the establishment of a working committee aimed at resolving the discrepancy, but stressed that no agreement has been reached regarding price reduction. So we're seeing a pushback there from MultiChoice. Then Ethiopia is preparing for a true watershed moment with plans to officially inaugurate its $4 billion Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam September 9th, just ahead of the start of the Ethiopian New Year and the end of the rainy season in a landlocked East African country. Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed in early July declared construction finished on Africa's largest hydroelectric project, nearly 15 years in the making, hailing as the crowning achievement of a generation and extending invitations to Egypt and Sudan to attend the ceremony. All right, now let's get a check on what the markets are saying now, starting on the African continent. Now we're seeing the NGX there following up from, that's the Thursday trade. That was the last trading day of last week, and we saw that positive close on that Thursday. We'll continue with a convincing 0.35% advance right there at intraday. The Johannesburg Stock Exchange reclaiming the 102,000 level, up 0.99%, about 1%. Right there at intraday. Let's get a check on what's playing out on the EGX 30. That's also positive territory, big 0.78% advance. And we see the Nairobi Stock Exchange closing last week, the last trading day of the week last week, in the green, up 0.11%. Let's get a check on the Gulf region now. Let's get a check on what's playing out in the Gulf region. See, it's mostly negative territory in the UAE, Dubai, Abu Dhabi. Down big, almost 1% for both indexes, 5,932 for the Dubai index. Let's get a check now on the Tadawul. That's also falling negative territory, following the UAE. Then we have the lone gainer right there, 11,136 points. There's about 4 basis points rise there for the Qatari Stock Exchange. Let's get a check now on the U.S. trade. Yes, we see the futures trading there looking quite positive to start the week. The tech-heavy Nasdaq, 0.35%. That's up 23,766 points. Futures tied to the Dow Jones Industrial Average. We've seen that also in the green. And investors there, but watching out. 2 critical inflation reports this week for more insight into the health of the economy after a weaker than expected hiring data. That was last Friday. And then the Producer Price Index report for August. That's due out Wednesday morning, followed by Consumer Price Index. That's coming out Thursday. So I guess we expect some volatility right there with the U.S. market. Let's get a check on Asia now. Asia Pacific markets traded mostly higher today as investors, they assessed Japan's Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba's resignation announcement over the weekend, as well as China exports data. And we see it's positive right there. We see the Nikkei 1.45% up. The Kospi is also in the green. Hang Seng Index also in the green, 0.85%. Let's look at other markets we track right there, and it's all green. Even Nifty 50 not left out, 0.16% to close, 24,781 points. All right, let's get a check on Europe now. Look at the markets in Europe. We have Lars Holter with the details. Hello, Lars. Great to have you. Happy New Week.
Good to be with you. How are you?
I'm fine. And I'm guessing European markets starting off fine today.
Indeed, Ladi. Stocks are fine here in Europe with most indices up. We are seeing the DAX in Frankfurt up about 1/3%. And investors here, and that, I mean, Ladi, we've talked about it a couple of times over the last couple of weeks. Again, today is one of these days. It happens every now and then where we're just not actually looking at much news out of Germany, out of the EU, but we're still talking about the US economy for good reason. Of course, you remember that we dropped a report last Friday before the weekend, and we're having a little bit of a discussion, I want to say, going on in Frankfurt to the optimistic reading, of course, being that a bad job market report clears the way for interest rate cuts by the Fed, but the pessimistic reading, of course, that this was such a bad report that it could also slightly be like the beginning maybe of a recession in the US, and that wouldn't be good for markets anywhere. So people haven't really made up their minds yet, but it is clear to see that those worries and those discussions on the US economy are actually dominating talk in Europe on the markets here.
Right, and looking at on the data front now, Germany had high hopes to overcome, its economic weakness this year. And now there are new numbers out on how it's going. What can you tell us about the latest estimates?
Yes, and Ladi, in that regard, we do also talk about, of course, EU and German data. And, I would like to say there's light at the end of the tunnel, but unfortunately, while that is true, the tunnel is also quite a bit longer than the maps were showing, and the light at the end is a little bit dimmer than what we were hoping for. Now, here's the data. Even though Germany's economy shrunk a bit in the second quarter, analysts are actually not expecting another recession. So they're not too worried about another negative number, and that's certainly a relief. However, economists from two leading institutes are expecting economic growth of only 1 to 0.2%. And they're saying that the government's big economic rescue packages, they haven't quite done what they were supposed to yet. Results then look a little bit better, or expectations, I should say, for 26 and 27, where growth estimates range from between 1.1 and 1.4%. But challenges remain, of course, not least with regards to global trade.
All right, but let's stick to some of the positive news now. Where's the growth mostly coming from, over the next years?
Yeah, a good question, Ladi. And that's why I said earlier that the light at the end of the tunnel is a bit dimmer. This growth we're expecting is mostly due to government intervention. So it is bought by the government and the taxpayer. First of all, it's those multi-billion euro rescue packages, of course, that are helping here. Both 500 billion euro packages, one for infrastructure and one for defense. They are both helping tremendously. And then there's also energy subsidies. There are extra write-offs that were put into the tax law recently. There are lower taxes for hospitality, tax cuts for seniors. All that, Ladi, is obviously helping towards economic growth, specifically in the next year, next 2 years. But it costs the government a lot of money, at least 40 billion in 2026 and another 20 billion in 27, according to the experts. Then again, it's at least good government intervention, and with the kind of reforms corporate Germany has long been asking for, Berlin could actually boost growth in future as well.
All right, thank you so much, Lars. I guess markets there will be bracing for the ECB rate decision this week. I'm looking forward to that. Thank you so much, Lars.
Me too. Thank you, Ladi.
All right, let's get a check on what's playing out with other markets that we track. That's talking about crypto now. We see it's green on the screen, starting off this week with Solana deeper in the green there, about $214. Quite a jump there. Was trading about $201, $202, but we're seeing a spike right there. Bitcoin, that's holding up 0.69% up. Ethereum, $4,321, 0.29%. And we see mostly stable coins there in the red, showing that the investors are ready to put some skin into most of these risk assets at this point. Let's get a check on some of the headlines in the market now. According to recent reports, the Trump family's assets have seen an impressive increase about $1.3 billion directly attributed to their cryptocurrency investments. This remarkable growth pushes their total estimated fortune to about $7.7 billion. Clear that digital assets are playing a crucial role in expanding the family's financial portfolio. That's according to reports from Bloomberg. And we're also seeing a company announce that, accordingly, that Solana have announced that $1.65 billion, including cash and stable coins, that's going to be added to some rounds of acquisitions for them. Galaxy, Jump Crypto, and Multicoin will provide capital and strategic support to help Ford Industries structure and execute its Solana treasury strategy there. So we see Solana there raising funds from the market there, about $1.6 billion. And we see Meta Planet Inc. Listed on the Tokyo Stock Exchange. That they disclosed this today, that had acquired 136 Bitcoins in the latest purchase. The deal was valued about $15.2 million with an average acquisition cost of $111,000 per coin. The transaction reflects the company's ongoing strategy to expand its Bitcoin holdings over time there. So, and they're also getting listed. So a lot of talk recently about Meta Planet so far. All right, let's bring in Rume Ofi now to bring us up to speed on what's playing out with the market. Hello, Rume.
Hello, Larry. Good afternoon.
Fantastic. Great to have you. Rume, I'm sure you saw the headline there with the Trump family wealth rising a lot this time. And it seems that they're the only ones having fun in the crypto space right now.
Yeah, they're changing dynamics. Right now, we're beginning to see a few things around politics and crypto right now. First in its kind in the history of the entire industry. But I think for a sitting president, there should be some level of restriction. I'm very sure that Congress is going to do something about it. Maybe not now, but I think for a president to get directly involved and his family getting involved in the industry, launching coins back to back, stable coins, and actually launching a nature coin, meme coin, as well as the wife and a couple of others. It's really not cool at all for me.
Right. I guess the American people might want a share of that wealth, at some point. But let's look at, crypto adoption now. New reports, data from Chainalysis, that show that we're seeing that India, that's leading globally with crypto adoption, they're number one. Then we see Nigeria there coming in sixth, United States second, the likes of Vietnam and Brazil. Talk to me about this latest data there. What is it telling us?
Yeah, actually, analysis on the adoption rate of digital asset, cryptocurrency and the likes. It's quite fantastic. 151 countries actually are part of that ranking, and Nigeria is sitting at number 6, ahead of Indonesia, Ukraine, Philippines, Russia, and even the UK. I think the other country there from Africa is Ethiopia. So it makes a lot of sense that something great is actually happening in Nigeria. But the data is not so much perfect because some of these data that came out has to do with some persons are actually to be using VPN. So they are not saying it should be exact. It can be exact, yeah, right? But the millions of sites were visited, about billions, I beg your pardon, about 13 billion was actually visited to be able to get all of this information right about now. I think it shows that the interest is growing really hard to get involved in all of this. And I'm really proud that Nigeria is sitting at number 6. But I once upon a time, before we had all of the Bitcoin, crypto is from thin air by the then CBN governor that personally attacked it. We were sitting at almost the number 1 at some point, if number 1 or 2. So it's not more like now a clarion call for the current administration to double down on how we can go back to, if possible, being the number 1. I think the US is actually number 2 now because the president currently is taking crypto really serious and is making sure that America comes first. So this is how we need to also make Nigeria come first in a way to influence Africa. A lot is going to happen, and a lot is still happening right now.
So what would you say is the relationship between crypto adoption and economic growth? Nigeria leading, when it comes to crypto adoption? Does that translate to economic growth in any way?
Yeah, so the truth is, it could be. So I'll put it in this way: a lot of Nigerians are retailers, right? They see this right now as a way not just to flip money, or in a way, a couple of persons, younger persons now are looking at a situation where they could get career around it. We see people very heavy on the DeFi space. We see people heavy in the gaming space. I was speaking to a young man last week, and he was telling me how he plays game and makes money off playing games. He buys characters, all of those NFT stuff, and they put them into gaming and all, and he makes money from that. So there's a new economy that's emerging right now, and I think the government needs to pay very good attention to that, so that the idea of government not providing jobs, they can carve a niche around supporting and giving a very good enabling environment for companies that are already here and companies that are about to come here to be able to thrive. And I'm very, very sure that the current president, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, actually wants economic process for the. So these innovative therapies could just give an enabling environment, and every of the young people, the youth, will be engaged with this industry. It's a very, very fantastic one if that is going to happen. And I'm also urging that some of these implementations to come in very fast, like stablecoin regulation and also licensing of exchange platform for crying out loud for a very long time now, almost going to a year more now. We just have very few, just 2 platforms that have been licensed, and it doesn't make any sense.
Right. All right. Let's look at markets generally. We know in the U.S. September and August are normally seen as bad months for crypto. That's for price action when it comes to stocks, and they're also seeing that correlation when it comes to crypto. They're saying historically, August, September, bad months. When it comes to crypto price action, especially for Bitcoin. Do you think Bitcoin will be able to surpass the September curse this time?
Right about now, the U.S. economy is playing a very huge role right now, and you see the job data that came out, a couple of other things that are going to come out this week, like CPI and all of that. They are already having a very strong stake in the entire crypto market. So I'm of the opinion that a lot of persons also expected August to be.
All right. So I guess. Okay, Ruben, can you hear me? Okay. All right. So I guess Ruben is frozen there, but definitely we're trying to find out if the September curse is going to continue right here for price action when it comes to Bitcoin and Ethereum. Historically, it's a bad month, but I guess for a bear that should be good, because if it's a bad month, that means prices are going to be going down, and that would give some bears a chance to accumulate some coins. They're still looking at that overall data. They're coming out from Chainalysis. We're seeing India, when it comes to overall index ranking, they're number 1. Retail centralized service value received, they also ranked number 1, India. Centralized service value received ranking number 1. DeFi value received ranking, that's the centralized finance, they're also number 1 there. That's talking about India. Then United States follows. But we know President Trump is making a lot of moves to put the U.S. or make the U.S. the cryptocurrency capital of the world. So maybe he's not far off, at this point. But that's how major markets are starting off this trading week, and definitely we're going to keep you updated throughout the week. Investors, I guess, will be looking out for tomorrow. We'll get that Apple. They're going to have that release tomorrow for the iPhone 17 and some other technology. So investors will be looking out for that. The price is going to go higher. Is demand destruction coming? That's what some analysts are worried about when it comes to some of those Apple products. But we'll keep you posted. Keep watching the shows, and definitely you'll be able to make that profitable trade. Thank you for watching. I'm Ladi Williams. Bye for now.